righty now. That was sweet. Nice job, Nordo. The Monday montage mixer, and he's the master, and we welcome you to 9 to noon. And all the Vikings do is win, no matter what. Monday at 9:04, and I'm Paul Allen. So how do we handle this one? Another all we do is win. Won't get any because it's the Giants talkbacks or texts or phone calls. Not expecting any sure, but Daniel Jones's awful thoughts, even though Flores put big brain Brock in compromising positions. Props to Brock Purdy, too, by the way. When I watched back some stuff last night, well, he's a very, very good quarterback. And we're not, I spent some time last week talking about system quarterbacks and system players and Jordan Mason in the stead of Christian McCaffrey and how A gets you to B and it gets you to C. And Purdy manages that thing beautifully. But what he saw yesterday, I mean, he was so confused several times because of what Flores and the Vikings defense was putting in front of him, yet he would weave his way away from humanity with his eyes constantly down the field. And not everybody does that, and he has a swivel. He has a swivel. After watching young Caleb again last night, and Justin Fields gets the money out Mile, Get High City way, and so on and so on. Not everybody has a swivel. Brock Purdy has a swivel. Props to him, man, because he got this kitchen sink plan thrown at him from Flores. He was sacked 6 times, and a fair amount mostly confused during the game, but he made some sweet plays. That Brock Purdy is a quarterback who was part of a Super Bowl run, so he gets a high level of respect from yours truly at all times. But it was Daniel Jones' narrative. Yeah, show me more. They didn't have McCaffrey. It's like, bruh. But on the Naylor hit, it was on the field, Sherfield Sr., Munt, Tristan Jackson, and Brandon Powell with backup Ty Chandler, who, by the way, is the bomb. And Darnold hit Naylor for like 26 on a 3rd and 9. It was one of the biggest plays of the game. I mean, I think I actually chuckled before the play because I was laying the whole thing out, and the Vikings had some They had some momentum. I'm like, hey, Pete, I mean, we got Sherfield, we got Munt, and we got Powell, and we got Tristan Jackson. I think he was in the wrong spot and got moved around. And Sam the man on the fan, hits Naylor for one of the biggest plays of the game with the 3rd preseason lineup on the field. I mean, said lineup was deployed with Jefferson now out, Addison on the mend, and Hawkinson continuing to crush it on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field. So how do we handle all this? All of a sudden, Duluth Denfeld go crazy. Wishnowsky will let it fly from about his own 40. Purdy has started 4 of 6, 44 yards. Oh, it's a block punt by C.J. Ham! Way to go, C.J.! And it's picked up by Theo Jackson. Heads to the right side to the 25, and he's taken down at the 24. C.J. Ham, the veteran. Duluth go crazy, and the Vikings have it deep in 49ers territory. Stuff like that is happening. I mean, it's the first blocked punt since Metellus, I think, New Year's Day of 2023. It's the first blocked punt the Vikings actually recovered since 2019. And stuff like that is happening. It's crazy. It's all balanced. How about this? 20 by your Minnesota Vikings. 24 runs at a 6. All right, 3-2. 24 runs at 6 a clip.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Above average at that.
And I'm Dan Patrick. 24 runs at 6 a clip. 26 passes at 8.5 a clip. Balance, though. Special teams wins. 6 sacks. I think it's 6. I wrote 5, but I heard 6 this morning. And that's checking all the boxes, which is required versus Fred Warner and those guys. How in the heck do we handle this? A day before we head to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center for a 30-minute sit-down with KOC. Yeah, we. And good morning.
Good morning. Simone Biles says you can win a gold medal with that kind of balance, PA. Hey. There's no doubt about that. The 6 sacks, you're absolutely accurate. And how you handle it. But it's the Niners.
Right.
Doesn't really hit the same.
No McCarthy.
But no McCaffrey, indeed. And
All right, 3-2.
The rushing attack was so impressive yesterday. A little stifled was Aaron Jones at times, but then Ty Chandler, this tandem and what this thing could look like.
Just how we handle this,
picking
man.
each other up. It was our own mistakes that kept this thing from being a stone cold blowout.
Yeah.
And
Aaron Jones doesn't fumble, they're blown out.
And Brian Flores, I don't know how to handle it because it felt kind of out of turn to discuss the potential of this being a top 10 defense prior to the season, and everything's projections and everything's okay. They could be deeper, they could be more talented, but I got to see it. And now through 2 weeks, I've watched it. And Flores, by the way, 2 for 2 in purple against Brock Purdy. What he did in primetime a year ago and what he did yesterday, to the point where Purdy himself, who's played in a Super Bowl, came up to Flores after the game and is like, crazy scheme, dude.
No.
Crazy scheme. Yeah, he was heard on audio going up to Flores and giving props to the man for ruining his day at US Bank Stadium 2 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
The only way to handle it is just to be really, really excited.
Yeah.
And now it's gone from, man, tough schedule before the bye, and you come out of the bye and you're hosting the Kitties. Kitties are no joke. Favored to win the NFC North. Going to be a contender in the NFC. Now your perception of every game moving forward, I think in some ways changes. And it's not just the high of winning, but now we have a 2-game sample piece of not just us, everybody in the league, and the excitement factor and the optimism into these games. These guys can win any of these games moving forward.
No, these guys can win, no matter what. So Purdy was caught on a microphone saying what to Flores?
It was something like, crazy scheme, man.
Right. Yeah, I knew it. I was right next to that because after that he said,
I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
well, with Flores on the heater, Flores and Patton and the staff on the heater. Seriously, Patrick Jones, I forgot I said that yesterday. He's up here trying to win National Football League Defensive Player of the Year. Patrick Jones had 1 sack last year, and he has 4. He has 4 already.
I think he had 5 prior to this season in his career. And so 2 for 2 through 2 and equaling 4, Patrick Jones, that speaks to that depth.
Yeah.
That speaks to the talent on this roster, PA. It's so awesome to see this come to fruition through 2.
And another factor that played into the sneaky cocksure nature of what we all saw and or heard. We talked about Aaron Jones. He's 5.5 feet from the end zone. And if he doesn't drop it, and by the way, they went and scored on that possession. I think that was like their 99-yard drive or something like that.
Yep, yeah, they scored off of both of Darnold's turnovers. The pick ended up only being 65 because Warner returned it quite a ways, but they did score touchdowns off of the pick and the fumble.
And you know what? This would be FIRA, fairness and respect in the adversary act. I mean, I got mad respect for the 49ers on a lot of levels, but Fred Warner, seriously, man. And you got bigger. I mean, like since the last time I saw you close, man, you got bigger. Fred Warner is the bomb in that 4-3 scheme. But what you said about Flores 2-0 against Big Brain Brock. Well, it last year. Now the run pass split in the second half, and I got something coming up here a little later for Bercich. That's quite amazing. I mean, there was a phase late third quarter where it went like completion, then sack, pick, sack, fumble, sack on Purdy. It's unbelievable. I wrote it down. It's somewhere here in this Tolstoy. But that was in the second half because they had to get pass happy. Last year, when they were trailing, they had to get pass happy. Taking Kyle Shanahan out of his running game is the absolute number one way to beat that football team. And last year, when the Vikings beat them on Monday Night Football, they were relegated to throwing 70% of the time in the second half. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to play that way. And that reared its head yesterday. Now, sure, there was the 97 to Jefferson, and he proved indefatigable, weaving his journey over much of the field and on a hot, steamy day. But the Minnesota Vikings outthought the thinkers. They outplayed the players and multiple times were close to blowing out the San Francisco 49ers. Dallas Turner, plus-size punter drops a beauty in there in 9-iron fashion, and and the rookie goes to rolling into the end zone for a touchback, but they were almost pinned way back there too. Nordo adroitly said on Fan Line yesterday as I was driving home, it truly never was close. And like the Giants game, strange as it seems, the Vikings were never losing that game yesterday. That was the feel. Now, sometimes that's the feel and it doesn't work the right way. Like in the game against the Buccaneers last year, the first game of the season. I didn't think the Vikings were losing that game at any inch of the way until the end. It's like, hey, what happened? That they lost. Well, they were never losing the Giants game from wire to wire. They went wire to wire on the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl and looked quite good doing it. And it's speaking of heat and steamy, it's the hottest game I can remember in that building too. And fans who were there, may recognize what I'm saying. It was steamy outside for sure. The pivoting doors on the west side were open, but old people needed a wet towel on the back of my neck. And the old hair went the way of Einstein because of the humidity. So how about this? Was the air conditioning full blast in that thing? Seriously, the Vikings were the better conditioned team. Lay on the murmur, 3-2. The Vikings were the better conditioned team because Trent Williams was all out of fuel on a few plays and was moving like a loose shopping cart. And Brandon Ayuk and several other Niners, short week travel, quirky offseason, they didn't seem to have their legs. I'm just wondering if somebody purposely jacked with the air conditioning in the building to gas the team that was favored.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
I mean,
they don't deal well with humidity out in the Bay, right? Bay's
cheating.
Paradise.
It's not piping in sound. It's not piping in steam. It's not. I'm telling you right now, it's the hottest in the building I've ever felt it in the 9 years, 8-9 years they've had football games there.
So out of 66-ish thousand, let's say maybe there's 55,000 Vikings fans. Niners travel well.
Oh, they had a lot of, I think that's a good estimate. They had about 10,000 fans there.
Can we get a poll of Vikings fans that were okay dealing with the humid misery for 3 hours if it resulted in a victory and a sweaty, unprepared adversary walking out the building with an L? You cool with having to deal with that humidity for 3 hours, Vikings fans?
If Vikings fans if they had in front of them, if your team was going to pipe in noise, which allegedly transpired at Metrodome, and it was going to be an audible nightmare for you sitting in the seats watching the game, and it's also against the rules. The majority of people would be like, nah, I'm out on that. Let's roll the ball out and see who has the better players and coaches.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can outthink the thinkers, outplay the players. But if the question was posed to you, all right, Trent Williams, their left tackle, is football immortality. He's playing his 192nd game, 15th year from Oklahoma. The guy's the bomb on many, many levels. But the last time we saw him on Monday Night Football was one of 2 times he was walking to the locker room in the game to get IVs.
I always love that one.
Because big people who don't take part in off-season plans waiting for their money get tired.
I always love that one.
Brandon Ayuk was on the oxygen mask more than Linval hungry in that game at Lincoln Financial.
I always love that one.
And he wasn't the only one.
I always love that one.
What if the intel into the game was we can run these guys ragged and gas them on a steamy, humid day? So let's go ahead and take the air conditioning down in the building so they sweat and we have, so while they sweat, we have no sweat.
Were they training in Egan all week wearing garbage bags over themselves?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 49ers were favored. They were garbage bags, but a lot of pundits felt they should have been shopping bags.
I always love that.
The old
one.
New Orleans Saints bag on the head. Don't show up and play those Niners. They too good. So much to discuss and so much time, which is sweet. Yeah. All right. 3-2. Andrew Van Ginkel. All right. With everything going on this week, we're at the facility Tuesday. We have O'Connell tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Make sure you listen to that. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin on Friday for the feast. The border battle for the pig takes place Saturday at Huntington Bank Stadium. PJ Fleck today, about 90 minutes from now. The border battle for the pig, so how about this? Friday, Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin for the feast. Tanner Morgan, former quarterback for the Gophers, will even out the equation with Chad Greenway, the great Hawkeye linebacker, for a segment that we're going to keep Tanner around for a little bit and feast on the Texans game with the regulars. So this Friday, Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin, Tanner Morgan and Chad Greenway, probably about 9:45 or something like that. Andrew Van Ginkel is just a regular guy, gifted with high-end acumen and athletic ability. And I ran into him about 45 after the win and went a little something like this. My man, you almost did it again. You almost did it again today. You almost went Howe/Jones on it again today. What do you think?
I can't believe I dropped it. I can't. I was kind of thinking they might do it again, but I didn't think they would. And he did, and I just dropped it. I tried to bobble it to myself, but he came and scooped it up.
Hey, when you were with Brian Flores in Miami, now he's the head coach, but he's orchestrating the defense too. Is the defense here pretty much the same that you remember from 2020? Obviously, things change. You have to in the NFL, but what do you think overall of Brian's approach to defense?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same beliefs, kind of background. Physical, set the edge. Those core pillars are the same, but obviously there's so many different schematical things that we do, and it's all game plan based. He does a great job of coming in. If he sees something, or if one of the players sees something, he's very adaptable, and he'll listen to us and kind of incorporate that into the game plan.
Is it fair to say, even without Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers are a very tricky team to play? They're just tricky with their motion and the window dressing and the pass and run and everything. Is this a tricky team to play?
Yeah, I got a lot of reps against it last year in Miami with McDaniel, and I think it's made me a better player. Obviously, there's a lot of eye candy, a lot of kind of dick 'em, make you think the ball's going this way and then get the ball the other way. And, they got a great scheme. They're well coached. That offense is hard to game plan against, and you got to have all players ready to come to play. You got to bring your hard hat, and I'm just so proud of this defense and how we came and played together.
And lastly, for Andrew Van Ginkel, I haven't gone through your 2 and 3 deeps from Miami with your career there, but I have to imagine with Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., Dallas Turner, Jonathan Grenard, Pat Jones, who has 4 sacks, Schutte he had 1 all of that last year, and just everybody involved with this overall linebacking core. This has to be one of the deepest linebacker groups with whom you've ever played.
Yeah, 100%. We got players all across the board. IP kind of his second year, taking that second year leap. I've always known Cash could play. He's a baller. And just the edge guys that we have in the room, obviously the D line too. We got playmakers all across the board, and even the back end, we got some Hall of Famers back there, and guys that love this game. You can see it, the joy and just the hard work that everybody puts into it.
And I'm certainly not taking a shot at Miami and Hard Rock or the home crowd or anything, but this was different today, right? I mean, this place was loud.
I think this is one of the best places to play in the National Football League. When this crowd gets going, the Skull chant, there's nothing like it. And golly, the atmosphere out there was unbelievable, and we got to keep riding this, and we need that same energy next week.
Ooh, one more, last one, I promise. This coaching staff, I'm just a very big fan of the scholarly approach and the past performances of a lot of these coaches. I mean, Flores used to be a head coach. Kevin O'Connell won 13 games in his first year as a head coach. But your position coach, Mike Pettin, a former defensive coordinator and also a former head coach. Your first year working with Pet, how's that worked out?
It's awesome. He brings a lot of poise to the room, a lot of experience, and he comes in with rush plans and kind of how he sees O-line setting, and I'm thankful for his experience because I've learned a lot from him, and obviously we're going to continue to build and get better as the season goes along.
Thank you, my man. I'm sure everybody down Rock Valley Way had a good time again today because the Vikings won, right?
That's exactly right.
Andrew Van Ginkel, a linebacker who was inches from scoring his 5th touchdown? That was the first question, my man. And I learned a lesson with that too. I had my head down, writing something down, or looking at my phone or something. I almost missed Van Ginkel's 5th touchdown. Diseased. All right, 3-2. But so it was a flare right, and Bercich goes nuts, and I see the ball bouncing around, and then there's Debo being Debo, and when I watched it back, man, Van Ginkel was like, he can't believe he didn't catch it. You know, the jugs machine that they have at practice facilities. I don't know how fast the footballs come out of there, but after Friday practices, I'll zip there from the Friday football feast and catch the final, say, 45 minutes to hour of practice, then listen to Kevin O'Connell's press conference. But after the Friday practice, the offensive linemen are the first one to set up in front. I mean, big people ain't catching the ball out of the jugs machines. It fires at them, and they're like, dude, to one of the equipment guys who's like setting the speed or the velocity or what, dude. But then you get some other players, specifically running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. But Van Ginkel, he must have worked on that all his life, because his catching skills are unbelievable in tight quarters. And like he said at the beginning, I'm like, man, you almost went Sam Howell, Daniel Jones on it. He couldn't believe he didn't catch it, but he was inches from his 5th touchdown. And consider the context here when it comes to 5 touchdowns in a career of more than, say, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. The context with Andrew Van Ginkel. Laquan Treadwell is a wide receiver in his 9th year from Ole Miss. He has 5 touchdowns during his career.
I always love that one.
And he's a wide receiver, allegedly, to whom quarterbacks throw. This is a linebacker, not allegedly, to whom quarterbacks throw.
I always love that one.
And he almost got his 3rd pick six, 5th overall touchdown. Blake Cashman's also a regular guy.
Why is Laquan catching strays, right? Isn't that the bit now, catching strays?
Damn it.
Laquan just caught a stray from you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you want to hear a stray? Go ahead and give me your best 45 seconds on what you saw with the Texans last night, then I will unfurl a stray.
Well, the first thing I saw is they use, when they're running, as well as they did week 1 and then last night, they use Joe Mixon really well. But kind of shockingly, and maybe it shouldn't be, Nico Collins, we talked about this prior to the season.
He's the bomb.
Nico Collins is CJ's guy.
Yeah.
It's not Diggs welcome and now he's the anointed one. It's Nico Collins. They did 3 or 4 different things with motion to get Tank Dell the ball in spots. This is a really interesting offense, and the Bears did a good job shutting down the run game in totality and flustered C.J. Stroud, got him down in the backfield several times.
Yeah.
But this is going to be another really fun game this weekend. And Daniil and Will Anderson, wow, what a tandem! No, just impressive, right? Like D'Amico Ryans is just in his 2nd year down there. A really good coach. The energy and if we're talking about culture in Minnesota, the Texans got a fair amount of that too. Wonder how that works with Diggs in the long term. But right now, everyone's happy. And this is going to be a super cool game this weekend.
Yeah. In closing, as the National Football League goes, there were some surprises yesterday, like the Las Vegas Raiders putting Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens on an 0-2 record. The demise of Joe Burrow in Game 2 was greatly exaggerated, or was it? He almost beat Kansas City on the road as a fat underdog, but the champions eventually got the money. And then allegedly, the best defense in the National Football League might want to get hold of Alvin Kamara. And Mike Zimmer, defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know if he ever wants to see Alvin Kamara again. Alvin had 3 rushing touchdowns yesterday, which caused us to hearken to.
Saints have run for 237 yards, the most given up by a Mike Zimmer defense since he began as head coach in 2014. 1st and goal, handoff Kamara, up the middle to the 5, spins at the 3, into the end zone, touchdown New Orleans Saints. It is a high 5 for Alvin Kamara. 5 rushing touchdowns today, and the Saints lead 37-27.
But who wants to cash a pick 5 when you can hit the pick 6 against an elite defensive mind?
Alvin Kamara's in the game. He has 5 rushing touchdowns. Breeze to Kamara. Alvin hit at the point of attack. Lunges for the end zone. Touchdown, Alvin Kamara. He just hit the pick 6 on Christmas Day. 6 rushing touchdowns for Alvin Kamara. That is tied for the most in the history of the National Football League, back to Ernie Nevers in 29 when Greg Coleman debuted.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Clint Kubiak, though.
Okay, yeah, Clint Kubiak didn't want him, right? This is 9 to noon. Good morning. Good morning. Nordo produces. He's the master mixer of the morning montage. We are negotiating replaying the montage later in the show unless it takes Nordo 2 hours to pull it out of the podcast. All right, 3-2. Around the corner, Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, then Vikes Bites, then a sneak peek at fresh meat or a sneak peek at next week. And after that, the columnist joins in studio, purportedly and or allegedly. And Parker Fox, who took in the game yesterday with a Dawson Knox. It was Knox and Fox in a suite right next to the Vox box. Hey, crazy.
I always love that one.
My man has some opinions after PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck joins at 10:45 into the game against the Great Big Fat Pig, and that's what is on air, online, on tap, and on fire with
9 to noon.
When we return, the analyst joins, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. That's what's on deck 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. This is First Place Radio, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pump it up now.
Fan.
Bercich.
Hey, Pete. Good morning. What's up, my brother?
Not much. How are you?
Pretty good, man. It was a fun win yesterday, and I'd like to begin here. I don't think you could have noticed at a more prescient and timely fashion Trent Williams being gassed. I mean, whether you saw a big man, with his hands on his knees, which you kind of low key mentioned, so I knew you were looking for something, and then I'm never going to say HOF football immortality was taking plays off. But big man may have had to rest actually during the game while playing it. And the last time we saw Trent, who missed the entire offseason chasing his money, and he's in his 15th year and he's big, well, he was walking to the locker room on Monday Night Football to get IVs. He was in such peril, physically speaking. Now, he's the bomb. But ever since you brought that up, like the whole thing changed at the defensive line and with the edge guys. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, they were gassed. I mean, that's what happens when you play. You play a Monday night game like they did, and they have a short week. You come out, it's hot. It was hot in the stadium, obviously. But when Pat Jones had that sack, in credit to Pat Jones, and everyone wonders why. What's making him so much more effective, and he's being a smart pass rusher. He took Trent down the middle, and Trent planted his feet and said, okay, I'm not going backwards anymore, but I'm not moving anywhere anymore. I'm just, he's like a tree. He just put his feet in the ground, stopped Jones, and then Jones was able to, come off and sack Purdy when he stepped up. So that's not Trent Williams, right? That's not what you normally see out of him, because the man this is the key to all these big offensive tackles, whether it's Darisaw or Trent Williams. They all have unbelievably good feet. Right, these guys can move their feet like nobody. That's 330 pounds, and his feet were planted. They were not moving. So I think across the board, that entire team, Deebo Samuel took himself out late. Right, they were gassed. I mean, they had again. It's the champs and NFC champs, if you will, but. We definitely had a lot more energy, and that was my biggest concern with just how the game was unfolding, was our defense having been on the field for so long, and that's usually when San Francisco just starts running the football at 6-7 yards a clip, and then the play action opens up, and then they do what they do to people. But it didn't turn out that way yesterday. So credit to the Vikings defense, and I'll say this, Paul. There are more guys making more plays on this defense than we've seen in a long time. Right. And I think yesterday was probably the perfect example of that, meaning it's a big game, right? You're on the field for over 30 minutes. You need everybody. And you go out there and everybody answered the call, right? Whether it was Jonah Williams or you have Van Ginkel, Turner, Grenard, Jones. I mean, all these guys stepped up and contributed. So that's a great sign that we have some depth on defense and they're just exciting day. You beat the defending NFC champions, man. Right. That was fantastic.
What'd you think of Darnold's day?
I was very impressed at the end of the game because they get within a score. No JJ, no Addison, no Hawkinson, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. Let's see what happens here. But he stayed. He feels so comfortable with those deep the out routes, right? His ability to throw from one hash mark to the sideline. This is the Brandon Powell reception for a first down that stands out in my mind. Those throws, those are his bread and butter. He feels so confident in those,
right?
But he's getting better over the middle, down the middle of the field, and that's going to be, I think, the key for him. The rest of this season is how much better and how much more confident is he going to be throwing the ball across the middle of the field, because that's where the play actions happen. That's where, when you play a lot of too deep and type coverages because of JJ, it's the middle of the field that you can attack. So, and conversely, Purdy's probably the exact polar opposite. He can hit the middle of the field in between the hash marks. It seems like San Francisco, that's what they look for in their quarterbacks. And remember playing Garoppolo. It's like, just don't even worry about anything outside the numbers because he doesn't throw the ball out there. Everything's in the middle of the field. Overall, that drive was very impressive. So, pulled the ball down, ran it when he needed to, didn't depend on it. I think he had a very, very good day.
How hot is Flores right now? And you know better than anybody because you coached and played, but this is a coaching thing. Is once you get 1, 2, 3 games on tape, that's where the he knows that you know that we know that you know that we know. That's where it really starts to flourish or really comes into play for the next patch of games. So how hot is Flores right now?
He has to be. He has to be very happy because you got to have playmakers, but you got in athletes and versatility. And the thing is, the versatility of the guys that you have that is what's making him so effective right now, because it's hard to get a beat on. When you're an offensive guy, you play Where's Waldo a lot, right? Number 43 is over here, 58's over here.
Right.
When 44 comes down over here, that means you're getting this, you're getting that. And right now they have the ability to put these guys anywhere. So it's very, very hard, I think, to get a beat on what this defense wants to do. Right. And because of that, we also have a lot more experience in the back end. Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy. You're able to show 3 deep and play some cover 2 and just throw these little twists at quarterbacks so they don't ever feel comfortable stepping up to the line and saying, okay, this is what I have, right? This is what I'm getting. I mean, think about how nice it would be to be playing the Bears this weekend, right? When you have Caleb Williams still 2-3 games into it, young quarterback, you can throw the kitchen sink at him and get him off of his game. But he's been able to do that. He's doing that with Purdy. I mean, we didn't even have to take the Niners out of their running game. They came out and threw the ball 6 of the first 7 plays. That was very interesting. If I was going to ask Kyle Shanahan a question, I would say, why throw 6 out of 7 times in the beginning? What did you see, or what were you thinking? Right? Because that played, I think, right into our hands, especially early. And again, the Niners, just like week 1, they've struggled the first couple series.
Lastly, here for the analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, Pete Bercich at Pete Bercich via Twitter for hardcore football takes. And we will be calling the game with Ben Lieber Sunday noon, Houston Texans, pregame at 10. During your career with the Vikings or Notre Dame, or is it what school did you go to? Providence Catholic.
Providence Catholic.
Yeah, Providence Catholic, juggernaut in the Chicago region. Have you ever blocked a punt? And if so, does it hurt?
I did. I think the last punt I blocked was probably in high school.
Yeah.
But I do remember doing punt block drills in the NFL. And I remember who was it? Was it Walsh? It was one of those guys that caught the laces right in his forearm, and it ruptured a vein. Right, so his arm just blew, kind of blew up like a balloon. And a big old, it's hard. It's very hard to practice, right? And to find someone who's willing to kick and then have their leg just completely stopped by somebody's arm, it's a very difficult drill to do. And you need some brave people to do it. But CJ Ham, man. I guess C.J. Ham, in that respect, personifies what this team's doing right now. They're doing all the little things right. Whether, and I still go back to like Ty Chandler at the end of the game when he had that off tackle run, 7, 8, 9 yards, stayed in bounds. They're doing the little things right. C.J. Ham doing the little things right. The guy, he's catching passes, blocking punts. Just that is a great sign, because those are the things that matter. And in close games against good teams, those are the things that win or lose the game. So right now, the coaching staff, all of them, they all deserve a good tip of the cap, because these guys are playing well.
Appreciate you, brother. See you soon.
All right, see you.
Bercich.
Analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, weekly 9 to noon. Vikes Bites are around the corner on KFAN. And it count.
Vikes Bites! Man, I love Vikes Bites, and I love me some Thousand Hills lifetime grazed grass-fed beef. Thousand Hills, Clearwater, Minnesota company, and they're a proud sponsor of Gopher Athletics. So the head coach joining us just less than an hour from now. Looking forward to hearing from PJ after they had another rousing victory over the weekend. But Vikes Bites, the Vikings, thank you to Thousand Hills, they had a win of their own. So we do this during the football season thanks to zone coverage. I'm going to kick off Vikes Bites with some Nordo's numbers. And I got to start with this guy because he's off to an unbelievable start this season.
Purdy has thrown for 162, a touchdown and a pick, and he's back to pass. And he is sacked! Patrick Jones, holy cow, he's out here trying to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. That's his second sack this game, fourth this season. They battered Brock 4 times, and that's a loss of 7, second and 17.
So if you go to zone coverage, you'll see Nordo's numbers, a little write-up, a little ditty on there, and the number is 4 PA, 4 sacks for Patrick Jones. We talked a bit about him in the open, but there's and fourth, you could go the number 4 as in the 4th year of his NFL career. And I don't want to say NFL life is on the line per se, but this is a guy that came into the year with 5 career sacks and one of those third-round selections in which we were hoping to get more out of. And ultimately, there's a reason that you draft Dallas Turner 17th overall. There's a reason you bring in Andrew Van Ginkel, and you're hoping that Patrick Jones can be a complementary piece, a depth piece. And as far as these first 2 games go, he's been an active contributing force on Flores' defense. 4 sacks through 2 games. He's been a revelation, PA.
It's coming, the rush is coming from all angles and all different forms of waves. For instance, with the 3-4 hybrid with floaters that has a side dish of amoeba, there was a moment where Andrew Van Ginkel was mugging the A-gap, and he got so excited because he ain't in there that much. I think he went offside. So if Flores is putting the bishop here and the castle there, and then the pawn's going to sit there, and he wants you to eat the pawn so he can kill you with the queen. I mean, it's set up so beautifully right now, but now they have 2 games of film. And you have an offense that had some trouble scoring last night on Sunday Night Football in certain patches of the game, but it's an offense that can be quite explosive and also has a very young quarterback. Who hasn't seen a ton of, snaps during his career. He's seen a lot, but, has he seen what Big Brain Brock said? Crazy scheme, dude. I saw that, what you said. I went and found it.
Yeah, I'm going to see here. I don't know if it'll come through on the radio. Let's just try it.
5 times. In a victory for the Minnesota Vikings, they improved to 2-0. Passes defense.
Nah, it just doesn't come through on that.
Oh, that's okay. But it's Flores, so you have Purdy embracing and saying hello to Darnold. All right. Now, Sam was Purdy's backup last year, so that's going to happen all the time. Off the right shoulder of Brock Purdy, unbeknownst to the quarterback, stands Brian Flores. And he waited for Purdy. Purdy turned around and looked at him. And I don't know what he saw in his eyes, but it may be fire. Because Flores had no interest in some long, winding conversation about a metaphorical family where you mess up the wife's name every year and you don't really care what they did on Thanksgiving. He just wanted Brock to see his face. Because Brock's sweet. Brock's like, crazy scheme, dude. And he wanted to talk. Flores just wanted him to see his face, and then he walked away.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It was, I want you to see my face, because it's a face you're going to see when you go to sleep.
Vikes Bites! It ended anticlimactically, but this was the drive of the game.
27-yard try right hash to the west side of U.S. Bank Stadium. Snap spot. Right gird is good. My man hasn't missed all season. Extra points or field goals. And that field goal kicks the Vikings to a 9-point lead with 3:30 to go in the game.
Eating some Thousand Hills beef watching the Vikings traverse a 14-play, 62-yard drive, ending in a field goal, PA.
Yeah.
That did indeed, as you said on the call, it put the Vikings up by 2 possessions. So if I was doing Nordo's numbers zone coverage style, 6:46, their longest drive of the game with no Justin Jefferson, with no, I think Aaron Jones actually started and he maybe bookended the drive, but he was on the shelf for a little bit. Yep. But it was massive third down conversions to Jordan Addison. No, it was Brandon Powell. It was a massive third down conversion to TJ Hawkinson. No, it was Jalen Naylor. Beautiful execution when you absolutely had to put your boot down and say this thing's over. It was a masterpiece drive and moment for Sam Darnold in the offense.
Well, the kicker might not be human, and instead a tremendous machine. I heard John Fanline about the babyface assassin, and he is a younger-looking individual.
Yeah.
Very unassuming, as I've said before. I've seen him talk, okay, so I verify that he does talk. And it generally is with Dahlman, the assistant special teams coordinator, who celebrated a birthday yesterday, or Matt Daniels, Ryan Wright, or the man Matt calls Sir Poe. But outside of that, he just stands on the field by himself as they're practicing, kicking ball after ball after ball. He notices the wind may pick up coming in from the south. And all of a sudden, the thrust and or velocity of God's wind has increased dramatically. So while most will use the wind at their backs, he kicks into it. Not worried about makes or misses, but strengthening his legs and strengthening every muscle in the leg to handle every situation. I strangely brought this up last week, and I'm going to bring it up again. I have learned over the last year that big fat cows, when there's a nasty storm coming their way, well, they run away from it. And then eventually it catches them, and all of the cows and the big fat animals and their teats topple. A buffalo, a bison, runs into the storm where they're like, this is going to hurt. This ain't going to be great, but it's only going to be 15 minutes where those big fat cows are going to be toppling for like 2 hours. The baby-faced assassin from Alabama is of the bison ilk. He runs into the storm, and the storm relents when he kicks that ball because he never misses, and I'm saying it again. I don't watch as much practice now as I do during training camp. I can't remember the last time I saw this guy miss a kick, and that includes Friday at the end of practice when I think he went 4 for 4. Hey.
He's as good as it gets. Vikes Bites! Ooh.
Well, you took my voice.
Had some voice cracking terrorism there for a moment.
I'm making a major decision. This is going to be one of the most interesting things you hear all day from the narrowcasting standpoint. We're making a very controversial change into the Texans game. And after the first quarter, we are eliminating black coffee.
I always love that one.
Whoa.
The triple espresso with the French roast charge, eliminated.
I always love that one.
At least until the racetrack closes, because I'm putting too many reps on my voice, and I think the coffee is drying the bad boy out in the fourth quarter, and then we're getting 13-2. Right, Gert?
God!
Yeah, so we're going to eliminate that, and we're going to see what happens.
Well, I'd prefer you didn't, because I would like to do an end-of-year voice-cracking montage.
I understand
if
that.
You're up for such things.
You'll miss me when I'm gone. You'll miss the dulcet tones, and you'll look back at the wise cracks of the voice cracks, and you'll feel sad because I'm gone.
If you like money down.
Nice tout on the Packers, by the way. A very, very nice tout how you laid that thing out last week.
It actually, yeah, once in a while,
Right.
it works. And they were unbelievable on the ground. Unbelievable on third down were the Minnesota Vikings. They were 7-12, and they held Purdy to 2 of 10 on third downs. That's my final number for you. And a Vikes Bites brought to you by Thousand Hills. The disparity there for a team, they still put up 400 yards of offense. So now you look at that drive in which they walked away with nothing as Harrison Smith so mad at himself that he didn't actually pick it off, that he just deflected the pass on the fourth down turnover at the 1 yard line. But in the end, you have a Vikings team 7-12 when it freaking counted, and they held Purdy to 2 of 10. That's as good a margin of, or at least an example of how teams win and lose. Vikings were awesome on money downs yesterday.
Nice angle on Kamara, Micah.
I always love that one.
All right, 9 to noon continues around the corner. Yours truly threw a microphone in the face of Blake Cashman following the game yesterday, and we're going to hear that back and maybe get into a little sneak peek at fresh meat and talk about these ballyhooed Texans. Everybody picked the Texans to win the Super Bowl. I watched them run out on the field last night, and it looked like a freaking circus because their defense has a bunch of small players who are fast, and their offensive line has gas mask guy, and everybody's super massive. It looked like just a bunch of smalls running amidst trees as they came out. They're a strange team, and a team that, well, we'll save that for the feast. You're listening to 9 to noon. Nordo with Vikes Bites. I missed that sponsor. It was provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
And I'm Paul Allen on your favorite radio station, FM 100.3 KFAN.